On today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, a hat trick of fights in the first 9 seconds between Canada and US. And this isn't even potentially the final. A lot to talk about today, sir. A new episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in, making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. If you want to get in on the conversation, join our subtext. Link is in the show notes below. Chat with Kyle and I one-on-one. We get your opinion, everything Avalanche related, which we share on this very podcast. We will do that a little bit later, where we continue handing out quote-unquote mid-season grades. We're doing them in threes. Today we have Kiviranta, we have Lehkonen, and Parker Kelly, right? Those are the three that we are doing today. We're doing them alphabetically, although I didn't just say them alphabetically. No, I just said how they came to my head. But those are the three that we will be doing. But we have to start, obviously, with kind of like the hot topic, not just in hockey, Kyle, in kind of like the broad spectrum of sports, and that is Canada and US in this Four Nations tournament. This is exactly what the NHL was looking for with this tournament, with this game. And oh, by the way, we could in capitals have it again because it could be the final. And if things go not the way of Team Canada, they could be out of this thing, which kind of would be shocking to a lot of people.
This, I never thought I'd be in a position where I'd see the NHL not just catch lightning in a bottle, but set the standard for sports. Like this is just unprecedented what the NHL was able to capture here. To take the boring old All-Star game format and turn it around and create something that is not it's transcending sports at this time. It's just however you want to cut it and slice it. This was one of the most entertaining things we got to witness in sports in quite some time, to where it was bleeding over to where people who had no rooting interest in sports were watching just for the spectacle. And it was incredible. I woke up thinking about this game. It has been tattooed on my brain. It was so much fun from beginning to end. And you mean there's more?
Yeah, we're halfway through. It's like we're not even done yet. I think the best thing about it is it was the unknown, right? Because you haven't had this tournament before. Like every year, you're getting a Super Bowl. Every year, you're getting the NCAA tournament. Like with the constants. Those are the constants of sports. There's a season and there's a championship. You're getting those. And that's why things like, even to a lesser extent, like the Olympics are big. You're getting them every 4 years. So that's why every 4 years it becomes a big spectacle, because you're not getting it for another 4 years. But for this was something brand new. And before we talked about it many times on the show before it even started, what we thought, how we thought it was going to go, what the interest we thought it might have or might not have. And you really heard both sides of I think it's going to work. I don't think it's going to work. I don't care about it. I don't think the players care about it. I do think the players care about, like, you got both sides of that. Now that it's here, it is an unqualified success. And we're not even to the championship round, quote unquote, so to speak. And then when that happened, I think this is just an incredible home run for the league. And if you had any questions on how the players would take it, that was another talking point. Are they just going to go through the motions kind of like it's an all-star game? Those were answered in the very first game between Sweden and Canada, when you saw some, good hits, high octane action. And it just, this game here, right off the bat, this was the game that I think a lot of people were looking to, of Saturday night, 8:00 Eastern. Even the first game between Finland and Sweden, while that was 1:00 here, that was 8 or 9 o'clock over the, so prime time for all countries involved. But for Canada and US, they got it. They were like, let's put on a show here, and you get those 3 fights immediately. And for some people, I feel like it's a minority of people who didn't like that, but I think the overwhelming majority of people were like, that's what this not that this is what it's about, but that's why people are tuning in. You are a big NASCAR guy. And there you go. And we're recording this on Sunday before the Daytona 500. But there are those people that tune into the Daytona 500, what? For the crashes, for the action, right? And there are people who tune into hockey for the fights. Those people were happy. The crowd was just incredible. And you tune in for that. You tune in, and then you stay for the hockey. Tune in for the fights. If that's how it's going to start, stay for the hockey, which was great hockey. And then you get that first goal by McDavid, which just make everything lined up as perfectly as you can have it for the league, for this tournament. And oh, by the way, we could get version 2.0 in was Thursday when the final is, maybe. And if that happens, look out. It could be more fireworks.
And see, I think the most wonderful thing, being a hockey fan, like I've been an Avalanche fan for almost 30 years now. Like it's since the formation of the team, and being just a fan of hockey in general, this is the most amazing spectacle of watching 2 brothers become the faces of hockey in one game. Like the Tkachuk brothers in this one game, I scrolling through Twitter, I saw so many people just like tweeting out, I know nothing about hockey, but I'm a fan of these Tkachuks. Because not only did they seize the moment, like they didn't really tally anything. It was Jake Gunsel and Dylan Larkin that really had an incredible. All right,
here we go.
Yeah, it was Dylan Larkin, Jake Gunsel. When you come to like having a banner night, like that's great. And you had for everybody saying, well, Nathan McKinnon is a puck hog. Well, shot the puck once. Connor McDavid got his goal. You got the result you deserve. And it's for you start the game knowing everything that's going on the ice, the rivalry between like Canada and the United States, Canada being the grandfathers of the sport, and the US trying to, find their place in this. You have more NHL markets in the United States than you do Canada. They're always fighting for that relevance, but it's always seen as a Canadian sport. It's always that rivalry between the two when it comes to the game of hockey. And when you see it on this level, and the Tkachuks understanding this and saying, hey, we know everything that is going on around the game, in the game, we're going to take it up one more level. And for them to put that on themselves and say, let's just go for it. Yeah. You could, that entire first period, like I could taste the electricity in the air. It was the most incredible game I have witnessed. For honestly, let's be real here. Nothing's on the line. Nothing big is at the end of this other than pride. And this is what you want to see, not just in sports, but just like the game of hockey. And it made it so much sweeter when you're watching this and you turn over to the NBA and they're playing a Chuck E. Cheese game. It just made me so happy as a sports fan to be like, I picked the right fandom.
We'll talk about other leagues, and if they're watching this, I'm sure they are in the next segment. But for me, like I found myself not really, oddly enough, having a rooting interest on who I was rooting for. Like, and let me explain that. It's like half of it is because we do an Avalanche podcast, mm-hmm. and nobody that plays for the Avalanche plays for Team USA. And just think about it. Like if this game was down to the wire and Nathan McKinnon scored the game-winning goal, would you be angry about that?
No.
Or that's the tough part about watching this tournament. And because you said like it's really like nothing on the line other than just like pride and playing for your country. You're not playing for a gold medal. I mean, you are playing for a trophy, but it's a trophy that has not been in existence until before today. I don't like, I'm not watching this of like, I'm so in for the United States just because I live in the United States, and I'm in for Canada because my guys are playing for Team Canada. So I'm genuinely watching. I'm literally watching this, just enjoying the back and forth.
Yep.
And when the fights were going on, I wasn't like rooting for the United States to win that fight. When Connor McDavid scored, I was like, hey, that's the team that my guys are playing for. When the US scored, I'm like, that's cool too. That's, you know, where I live. I'm genuinely watching this just with hockey eyes. It's different. It's a different, like, rooting for your country sport than it is, say, for the Olympics. For the Olympics, that might be different while I'm watching. I won't generally know until I'm sitting there watching it. But for this, I am just taking it in and enjoying that hockey is front and center right now. It really is. Like, what is surpassing this right now? You are getting so many other like journalists and things like that cover other sports commenting on this on social media, and that's where we'll get to the second part. So why don't we get in a quick break here, talk, because there's a lot more to talk about on what this means for other sports, and there's just a ton to get to. So let's do that, and then we'll we also have, like I said, our 3 grades, mid-season grades that we have to get to as well. We'll do all that next. All right, let's hear from FanDuel. And when the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on that action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And with FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com. Join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, getting back to kind of the discussion on how this tournament is kind of just, really garnered a lot of interest from across a lot of different spectrums, from just fans down to people who cover other sports. And that's where I kind of want to like dive into, because you wonder what this is going to do to, if other sports are going to take notice and say, hey, we need to change things too, because you hear all the time about the NFL trying to change up the Pro Bowl and nothing works. Nobody cares anymore. The same thing with the NBA All-Star Game. You're seeing that right now. And from what I heard, they have changed it up a little bit this year, the NBA All-Star Game.
I'm so like the effort. Okay, and let me focus in on that point right there.
Yeah,
the effort level in all of these All-Star games, quote unquote All-Star games. The NFL has relegated itself to flag football. NBA, right. They don't play defense. Like, nobody watches the actual NBA All-Star game. They watch the skills competition, and that's it. Nobody tunes in to the All-Star game. I don't care if they tweaked it, because it's been so bad for so long. Nobody cares. Nobody watches.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's my thing. Like, so what do you? Did you see the what was it? Wimbayana?
Yeah,
like him going through that obstacle course that they have, and I think you're supposed to take shots, like 3-pointers. He literally just throws the ball. It almost like hits the free throw line. He doesn't even care. And I joked, like, that's the Kucherov. That was doing a Kucherov. And I think leagues have to kind of pay attention to, how do you get people interested, because you can even change up the format again, which I think the NBA did. If you want to comment on what it is, feel free. I don't really care that much about the NBA, that whatever they do is going to change and get my interest. Why? Because whenever you do, and you're seeing it in the NFL, whatever you do to the NFL to change the Pro Bowl, whatever you do in the NBA, it's not going to get them to the care to the level that these guys in the NHL are caring. I honestly don't feel like, even maybe if you did exactly what the NHL is doing and get it global, and basically do an Olympic style tournament in like an NBA setting, and you'll get players from other leagues in the NBA joining in on a 2-week tournament. Maybe you'll get NBA players to care, but you cannot get NBA players to care to play defense on a game for games that don't matter. NHL players are built completely different. And when you throw them in a tournament that says, hey, here's a tournament to defend your country, like you said before, like that really in the grand scheme of things doesn't mean anything. They're not going to care, and they are going to go put in maximum effort. And I don't think you can get that from other sports. Tell me how you're going to get that in the NFL. And I get it in the NFL. Like there could be a lot of injuries playing a all-out game in the NFL. The same is true for every single sport. But I think it's a tough sell to those players to tell them, hey, we're going to do this. And can you at least try? You don't have to say that to NHL players. They'll go do it.
Well, here's a couple like kind of damning things. This really started after the game. ESPN, of all people, tweeted out that somebody made a tweet and they made a post, and it's gone everywhere on their socials.
Mm-hmm.
How the NBA is like playing carnival games. The NFL is a flag football competition. The NHL is doing this and setting the world on fire right now because of the effort. And you talk about how do you fix this? The NFL All-Star Game started out as the defending Super Bowl champions went against a team of All-Stars. It would be like
when
this year.
That?
Oh, this is when it first started. This was back in the 70s.
Really? I never knew that.
Yeah. It would be whoever won the Super Bowl, they would play an exhibition game against the NFL All-Stars. And that's where the Pro Bowl came around. Could you go back to that? Would it be interesting? No. Honestly, all the other leagues, even Major League Baseball included, they need to look at this. Like you mentioned, like we mentioned the U.S. and Canada rivalry and how we just rooted for the game of hockey. I was doing that in the Finland and Sweden game because that's the health of international hockey. And you're rooting for Finland and Sweden. Like, this is a good contest. This is physical. Like, yay, hockey. You could do the same in the NFL. Like, break it down to where you were born. North, south, east, west. Those are your teams. Do a tournament, like the first half for these two. Swap it up at the next. And then you do one quarter. I don't care. Same in the NBA. Break it down. Just represent something and engage the heart aspect. Like that's a lot of what the NHL is doing. Like, you're playing for nothing. You're not. I don't care if you put $500,000 on the line. You put nothing on the line.
Yeah,
you're still just. It's that heart aspect, and you're representing, and you belong to something. That's what this is. You belong to Team USA. You belong to Team Canada. Like, you represent so much, and you bring that to the game because you don't want to let it down. If you're Team East. I don't care about the East.
Yeah.
But I care about Team USA. I care about Team Canada. I care about Team Sweden. I don't want to be viewed as the little brother.
Yeah.
That's what all this matchup, the drama entails.
And as you're mentioning, like their leagues, it made me remember that like baseball does baseball does the classic, right? The
World Baseball Classic.
The World Baseball Classic. And do they do that every 4 years? I think
it's every.
I don't think it's every 2 years.
I think it's every 4.
Yeah,
but you get emotion in those games.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, as I said, like what other sport really would give effort? I stand corrected. That one.
Yep.
You see it. You see it in baseball. Like, I remember that last one. It was like Ohtani versus Trout.
Yep.
And Ohtani was pitching, and Trout was, and that was like this almost to an extent. So those are the things that I think leagues need to turn to. All-Star games are cash cows for that city and really for the league, but they've really just they've worn out their welcome. And I blame the players, but I don't blame the player. I blame the players because it's time off from a grueling season. You know what I mean? So, but at the same token, like they're the ones who are like, I'm not going to give effort. Well, I can't fault him for it, but it doesn't make for good like television and for a viewing audience. It's not entertaining. So I think the leagues really need to start looking at things. I think the NHL in this instance has done it. And now my question is, how do you ever go back to a regular All-Star game? I mean, you have things set up for the next couple of years. You have the Olympics, and then they're doing the World Cup of Hockey. And then after that, you have to come up with something. Maybe by then, whatever is going on with Russia, you're including them more, and you can have a Six Nations tournament. but you cannot go back to an All-Star game after this. There'd be revolting.
No, because the All-Star game honestly was built to showcase the stars of the game in a format that you couldn't before. You like television and media has changed so much over the years. Like there were days that you would not see teams out west until maybe the playoffs and Stanley Cup. And it was a way to showcase them a little bit more like, hey, these are the guys you don't get to watch normally that aren't on our 4 networks, and that's all you get. Like you get to showcase, and you get to ad nauseum. You get to watch every highlight of every sport, where the All-Star game is just like, whatever. I get this. I've seen these guys. So you got to try and add to. I don't know how the NHL could go back to a normal All-Star game. It's impossible at this point because it's going to feel vapid and emotionless like all other All-Star games. So I don't know what they have to do.
No, I mean, they got a little while to think about it because, like I said, you have the next couple of years planned out. But as far like we're talking about this the way we're talking about it, and it's not even over with.
Yeah.
And like we said in the beginning, like you could have U.S. Canada in the final, and no disrespect to Finland or Sweden because they're enjoyable to watch too. You didn't get what you got between Canada and U.S. in any other game in this tournament. And then not only that, if it happens again, Cale Makar didn't play in this game. He was sick.
That's why they lost.
Totally. 100% why they lost. I mean, come on. It's just kind of known, right? No. But you would have like the storylines of that. You mentioned that a while ago, Kyle, like about storylines and think like this is absolutely, I mean, it's just a baked in storyline, just Canada and US for a multitude of reasons and things going on outside of the rink as well, which we are not going to talk about here. But on the ice, like you if there is a rematch, you were going to have Team Canada ready to roll, and Cale Makar is going to be there. So it would just be must see TV. And for two guys that are hockey junkies, that's what I wanted this tournament to do, is just turn people's attention towards hockey. Do I feel like it's going to carry over into the regular season? Maybe, because you're kind of close to the playoffs. So maybe somebody tunes in and be like, hey, playoffs are, when this thing is over, 2 months away, a month and a half away. Let me just keep an eye on hockey for the remainder of the season and then get into the playoffs, where we all know the playoffs, nothing touches the playoffs when it comes to playoff hockey. Maybe you can turn people's attention to the sport, because when they ask, is it like that all the time? Well, no, you're not getting 3 fights in the first 9 seconds of a game. But as far as just effort level and back and forth and close games and hitting, and Connor McDavid was not an untouchable in this game. He had that solid, incredible first goal, and then there was hits laid on him. So you mentioned like your Tkachuk guys now. That's the other part of this, man. Like as much as like, hey, they set the tone with this game. Like, am I turning to the side of the Tkachuks now? No, I'm not doing that. I am. It's not. I know you are, but that's fine. And there's probably a lot of people that feel the way that you do. And like, hey, same thing with TJ Oshie when he had all those
and that's
shootout goals.
I was about to say, because these tournaments, which I say as a rebuttal to what do we do with the All-Star game, keep the 4 nations. Have 4 nations, World Cup of Hockey, Olympics. Keep those cycling forever.
Great.
But whenever players are brought up, like Sidney Crosby, Ovechkin, or TJ Oshie, whenever it's talking about trades or he's not there, you always see those one lone comments. I'll never forget what he did in insert year here Olympics. I'll never forget what he did in these Olympics. Mm-hmm. These are the moments that when the Tkachuks go through and deals come up and is he on the trade block, you're going to hear fans say, I'll never forget what he did in that 4 Nations tournament. And this is where it starts. And now the Tkachuks have my respect, even when the Avs will face them. I'll be like, he's dirty. He's terrible, horrible. I can't believe what he did to insert player name here, but I'll never forget what he did in that 4 Nations.
Right. It just lives forever. Right.
My number 1 college basketball team played yesterday and beat their rival, who was number 2 at the time. Mm-hmm. Huge game. I should be talking about this. I should be caring. I haven't thought about it since the game. because this tournament it's an all-star exhibition format. An exhibition game should not be ranking higher than a number 1 versus number 2 in college basketball between two rivals that I grew up loving my entire life.
Right.
Like, that should be taking over my week. But I'm talking about exhibition hockey with nothing on the line, two players that up until this tournament I've hated their guts.
I think with what you might do next time, I like that rotation thing. You know what I mean? You'd have to come up with 3 things to get to Olympics, right? So you'd have the World Cup. I would do something else, and then this. I would, the next time around, like I said, if all's well with Russia, I think you have to include them. To not have Russian players in this league, in this tournament, that you're missing out on a lot of really good talent. And then, but you can't have an odd team. That's probably why you involve like Czechia or something like that. Yeah. And then you get, the Marty Naciuses of the world who can take part in this tournament as well. That might be the next thing for this when it comes back around. Like, hey, that 4 nations tournament is back, but guess what? We've added 2 nations. Now we're 6, and now like, oh, okay, now you've added 2 more. I'm going to even watch that.
Just call it the Nations tournament.
The nation. Keep throwing the numbers in there.
Just do the Nations.
Change the NHL to the 32. Well, it can't be nation. The 32 team.
32 organizations.
32 franchises. Yeah. I'm loving it. Yeah. I'm loving it. And while I agreed with your like, hey, let's just do this as a Final Four, this is kind of fun doing it. You do get it prolonged a little bit. It's kind of fun doing it this way.
Yeah, so. I'm starting to walk that back a little bit.
All right, let's get to our 3 more mid-season grades. We're going to do that next. All right, in sports, having a winning strategy is everything. It's how the best teams make it to the Super Bowl, the World Series, the Olympics, the Stanley Cup Finals. The same goes for life. Having a strategy like life insurance from SelectQuote can protect your financial legacy and keep your family's future secure. SelectQuote makes it easy to find the perfect life insurance policy. As one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, they've helped over 2 million customers find $700 billion in coverage since 1985. And what sets SelectQuote apart is their personal touch. Unlike other brokers that offers one-size-fits-all policies, their licensed agents tailor coverage to fit your unique needs. And if you're in good health, you might even qualify for same-day coverage of up to $5 million. No medical exam required. And it's more affordable than you'd think. You can get up to $1 million in coverage for as little as $20 a month. Get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/lockedonnhl. That's selectquote.com/lockedonnhl today to get started. Once again, selectquote.com/lockedonnhl. SelectQuote, they shop, you save. All right. Well, I want to keep talking about the 4 Nations tournament just because what we do right now. We have some midseason grades to get to, going through these 3 at a time. Like we say in the off season, we do them 1 at a time, focus a little bit more on them. But just to kind of get through the whole roster quickly, it's just got a quick midseason grade that we're kind of passing off to everybody. So Parker Kelly, Yoel Kiviranta, and Artturi Lehkonen are the 3 that we're doing today. We'll do them alphabetically, and that's with Parker Kelly. So I don't have his stats up, which I should have done, but I'll do that now.
Parker Kelly, 5 goals, 8 assists, 13 points on the year.
Okay. Not bad. And here, I got him up. Yeah. Time on ice, 1306. I think that's good for a depth player. What do you got? What are you going to give for Parker Kelly?
I'm giving him he's right there on the line, but he is a B+.
Oh, so I was thinking you were saying he's going to be on the line between like the C+ and the B-.
Oh, no.
He's no. Okay.
Yeah, like
Go ahead.
Almost got A. Almost got A.
Wow. Okay.
Like, he's all that in a bag of chips. You got that hype when he was coming in here, like, hey, he could be sneaky good. And he has been. He's been incredible. He's been fun, and he's a scrapper. He contributes where he needs to. I I've been pleasantly surprised with Parker Kelly. So yeah, he's B plus. Like he is like a frog's hair away from A minus.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. I think I'm going to go with B plus with him as well. I really liked bringing him in the off season, and I thought it was going to go well. I didn't think it was going to go this well for him. You know, and even talking to the guys over at Locked On Sens, they were upset losing because of exactly what we're getting from him. He is your workhorse, your grinder. Like he will do whatever you need him to do, and he just does it well. I kind of feel like he's almost like a Devon Taves on the forward side of things. Doesn't wow you, but doesn't do anything really wrong. Is kind of always in the right place at the right time.
Brandon Saad 2.0.
That's not a bad one for offense. Yeah, that's not a bad. Like he just when he's out there, you just feel like you're going to get a good shift from him.
Yep.
And I think you see that for what I say 13 plus for average time on ice.
Yeah.
That's exactly, man, you want, if you get six depth guys of Parker Kelly, you're doing okay.
Yeah.
He's got not a bad shot, not a terrible shot. He doesn't utilize it a lot, but I think that speaks to more to the Avalanche maybe struggling a little bit with their depth. But when he's found a line with like him and Logan O'Connor and even Kiviranta, we're going to bring up in a sec, like put him with the right people, he can give you a lot. So yeah. I like what he's given to this team early on.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites.
He's good. And let's talk about Kiviranta. So his second season with the Avs. Looking at his stats, he's already beat last year's games played. He had 56 last year. He's already at 57 now, and he's well past. He's already has his career high in points. 11 goals, 5 assists, 16 points. What do we got for? He's a +6, 1248 of average ice time, 2 game-winning goals for him. So that's kind of cool for a nice depth guy. But I think what he's done, you see what happens when a guy comes back and has a second year with the same club. Gets a little bit more comfortable. What do you got for Kiviranta?
I got him sitting right with Parker Kelly. He's a B+. He's not going to like blow the roof off with his scoring, but boy, when he scores, it matters. It's clutch. It's needed. Like his goals matter. His assists are timely. He's a presence. He's a threat. He's like a little bit slower than LOC, but he's quick. I love him. He's great.
And he's got 11 goals.
Yeah,
on the season. That is, let's see, his highest prior to that was 8. His last year with the Stars, and prior to that he had 6. So everything from here on out for the rest of the year for Kiviranta is just bonus.
Yeah.
So I think he's earned the trust of the team, of the franchise, of the coaching staff, and I'm with you. I think he's a B+. I think him with Parker Kelly, they go out there and they kind of do the same thing of just giving you all they got for that shift. It's like a bend but don't break mentality, and if they have an opportunity, they're going to take it. And he's got a little bit of a scoring touch to him as well. So
he's not afraid to get out there and take that chance.
Nope. So really like what he's been giving you too. And then finally, Artturi Lehkonen, he's at 45 games played, missed some time early in the year, but has missed to be 23 goals, 10 assists, 33 points, a +24 for Artturi Lehkonen on the year. Yeah. Wow. Okay. What do we got? 21-14 average ice times, 4 game-winning goals, shooting 23 shooting percentage. He's awesome. but what do you got for a grade though? What do you got for a grade?
Got a flat A.
Mm-hmm.
I would like injuries. You'd like to maybe you'd ask more for scoring, like goals, because his goals are always just amazing.
Yeah.
But he always facilitates. He knows his role. He's underrated for his contributions on this team, but he is vital. He is a vital piece of this team. The Avs knew what they were doing when they went out to go get him. And my goodness, he has paid dividends ever since he's arrived. For all the acclimates we give to Drew in for what he does with the McKinnon, we underrate what Lehkonen brings as well. So yeah, he is a flat A.
I've agreed with all three of your grades today. Wow.
You're not supposed to do that.
No. And we've been off for the last few ones that we've done. Like we've kind of been all over the place, but I'm with you on these grades.
It's because USA Hockey has changed my mind and my outlook on life.
I've said it before. I think like when all's said and done and you look back on all-time trades that Avs have made, this isn't going to be up there with as far as like the headlining grabbing trades, but it is one of the most important.
Yeah.
And the Rantanen deal like that, those are deals that include names, right? Big time names. And like Ray Bork and stuff like that. Like you're gonna have all those, but the Artturi Lehkonen deal continues to be one of the sneakily just incredibly awesome deals that the Avalanche have made over the years. And yeah, he out a little bit with an injury, but comes back and just really just kind of picks up where he left off. Again, another player that this team relies on heavily. The coaching staff trusts. His teammates trust him now. And he has been kind of thrown into a role when he got here of like, hey, we need you to do a lot more. And he's accepted it. Really wasn't like a scoring dynamo when he was over with Montreal. But since he's come here, he has been. He's been great.
Yeah, he's been
great. So yeah.
No, and I think he's criminally underrated for what he provides. And when it's all said and done, I think he's going to have a special place in the history of the Avalanche.
Yeah. And we didn't even talk about it. Oddly enough, I think he was benched in the Finland-Sweden game. I think it was coach's decision. I reached out to producer Drew actually and was like, do you know anything about this? And he was like, yeah, I look into it. And he's like, coach's decision that he did not play almost any of that third period in Finland versus Sweden. Bold move there, Finland head coach. So
yeah, it's the Four Nations is not for the faint of heart.
Well, I never thought we'd say that before, but wow. But yeah, there you go. There's your grades. I got a couple in from the people over on Subtext. Get to those quickly. Kay says Kelly, they give a B. Doesn't get on the score sheet, but love his effort. Kiviranta a C. Works hard, but it doesn't notice him much for good or bad. And Lehkonen a B+ for Lecky. Charles gives Parker Kelly a solid B. Loves his effort. Kiviranta B-. At times gives him a B+. Okay. And then Lehkonen A- for the grumpy monkey. Gives him that.
Yeah, I honestly don't have a problem with that.
And then finally, Madam Battle Axe, Parker Kelly B-, Kiviranta B-, Lehkonen solid A. Yeah, so we're kind of all in the same group here. We're all getting along for these grades anyway.
Look at us.
No one's going to come down on you today for these grades. I like these. All right. So that is going to wrap it up for today, everybody. We'll be back with more grades for tomorrow. I'm sure we'll be talking more about this Four Nations tournament, I think, going on there. Yeah, and we'll just get through one more week before the games pick back up. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in, making this your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast, and you have gotten through another 24 hours. Sidney Crosby's that much closer to being Colorado Avalanche.